I'm Rafi from RR Racing Rennsport. Today we're here to discuss an exciting new product. We're calling it the Porsche Breakaway Camber Plate. This product is intended to address an important issue that many Porsche owners are discovering and have discovered over the past 10 years or so. With the advent of the newer generation models, the 991 and the 981 specifically, in approximately 2014, 2013, owners began discovering that these cars are much more prone to strut tower failures. With the 981 and the 991 generations, Porsche went from making the strut towers from a stamped steel construction to a die-cast aluminum construction. And they did this with the intent of stiffening the chassis and reducing weight. They achieved these goals, but unfortunately, it also made the chassis more prone to catastrophic failure. By catastrophic failure, I mean there have been many reports over the past 10 years of the entire strut tower simply cracking and breaking loose. If any of you Porsche owners, have any doubts of whether this is a real issue or perhaps an exaggerated issue, I invite anybody, just go on Google, go on Reddit, go on YouTube, and you'll find hundreds of documented cases where strut towers have catastrophically failed. This can cause a loss in control of your car, and it certainly causes structural damage to your vehicle, which results in damage and loss in value of your precious car. This is the issue that we decided to address with our new product, the Breakaway Camber Plate. So the way we approach our solution to this problem is, rather than make the car sacrificial in case of a pothole or an accident or an off-track incursion, we decided to make the camber plate sacrificial. And in that sense, what we did was, we designed a camber plate that is very functional. It increases camber just like any other track camber plate that you might buy. But it has a special feature where the upper bearing housing is attached to the plate with bolts, which break away in case of an impact. The impact is dampened by a cushion, by an elastomer, which absorbs the impact and prevents damage to the car. One of the advantages of this type of design is that we can simply replace the bolts. So if you're at the track, if this happens to you, if you happen to be on the street, first of all, you may not notice it because our elastomer actually supports the entire strut housing. Secondly, if you need to restore the function of your camber plate, you can do it very easily and you could do it on the spot. So even before heading to the track, we decided to sort of prove the concept in the shop. We rigged up a test apparatus, which was a big pendulum with a 55-pound sledgehammer on the end. And we compared both the stock GT camber plate and our breakaway camber plate. When we impacted into the stock GT camber plate, the mounting plate to which the camber plate was mounted immediately broke. All right, I'm going vertical. In the case of our breakaway camber plate, upon impact, the bolts holding the bearing housing to the camber plate broke and allowed the elastomer bushing to absorb the impact. The mounting plate to which the camber plate is bolted did not break. Fire.
Yeah,
Twice, it won't break it. And to us, that proved the concept, that there's a big difference between a dampened impact event and an undampened impact event. The next phase of testing was to take the car to the track. Now, one of the things we didn't want was, we didn't want the breakaway camber plate coming apart for any reason. We know that on some tracks there's curbing, and one track in particular, Watkins Glen, has a very iconic section called the bus stop. In this section, we wanted to be able to hit the curbs at full impact without breaking the camber plate, because we know that these type of impacts do not cause strut tower failure. So we repeatedly calibrated the camber plate by using different number of bolts and different bolt materials until we got it just right. By just right, I mean, when we go over the bus stop, we don't break the camber plate. But any type of impact more severe than that, such as a pothole, a slight off-track excursion, that will break the camber plate, and that will protect the chassis of the vehicle. So upon initial inspection, our Porsche Breakaway Camber plate looks like many other aftermarket high-performance camber plates. It functions very similarly as well by increasing camber compared to the stock GT camber plate. The difference is that in the event of an impact, such as a pothole, this spherical bearing housing will detach from the plate itself. It's held in place by a number of bolts, and these bolts and nuts actually break off under a certain threshold impact and allows for separation of the bearing housing with the plate. Now, rather than just allow the bearing housing to go free, we actually absorb the impact with an elastomer bushing. And this elastomer bushing is held in place with a housing that sits on top. So even after the breakaway event takes place, the elastomer bushing keeps the entire strut in place. So let's say hypothetically you had an off-track excursion or you hit a pothole. And just by looking at the breakaway camber plate, you don't really know what happened. All you have to do in these situations is jack the car up. So I've got a jack right here to my left, just to take the weight off the wheel. Then we remove the elastomer housing. That's this red portion. So we have 8 bolts holding this securely to the plate. Once we remove the housing, we see we have the elastomer. Once the elastomer is removed, we can examine the bearing housing that attaches to the strut. And we can know if it's free or not. If it is free, that means we had a breakaway event. In that case, it's actually very easy to get this repaired. Essentially, all we have to do is take a new bolt and nut, insert it, and from below, attach the nut and torque these nut bolts to spec. Once the bolts and nuts are reinstalled and torqued to spec, you simply return the elastomer and the housing, torque the housing to spec, and you're good to go. Most likely, you're not even going to miss a track session. That's how quick and easy it is to make this repair. I've actually had my own off-track excursions myself. And in one case, I actually went wide at New Jersey Motorsports Park Lightning. I put my left front wheel off track slightly. I heard a very large impact. And typically, these are the kind of impacts you see other Porsche owners documenting on YouTube, where the strut tower actually failed. In our case, nothing failed. And to me, that was really the point where I realized we really got a product here, and we're really going to make a difference with what we're doing.